Someone once said that death leaves behind a pain nothing and no one can heal. But on the other hand, love leaves behind a memory not even death can steal. I guess what the author was trying to say was that death can really be painful, but we can all take comfort from the fact that if we loved someone and we were able to show our love and affection for that person while he or she was still alive, that can help ease the pain. Hi, hello. My name is Bong Austero. Welcome back to my channel. One of the difficult things about this pandemic is that, aside from the fact that it has claimed a lot of lives already, the other thing that's really sad and painful about this pandemic is that we're not able to grieve. We're not able to condole physically. We're not able to share sympathies with family members and those that also suffer the pain of having lost someone. Not necessarily to the pandemic, but to other causes. But because of the pandemic, we're not able to travel, we're not able to go to wakes, we're not able to join our families and friends in mourning or in grieving for the loss of people that we love. Like many of you, I've also lost quite a number of personal friends and relatives and loved ones during the period of pandemic. Not necessarily to the pandemic, although, that's quite debatable already. Just this week, I've lost two family friends. One was the mom of a high school friend. The other one was a family friend who used to live with us. Every time she would come to Manila, she would stay with us in our house. They both passed away this week, and had this been another period, I would have gone home to condole with the families, with our friends and our relatives, to be with them in this period of grief. A few weeks ago, a cousin also passed away, and that was really sad because we were quite close to this cousin, and the death was so sudden in fact that two of her children could not even go home to be with their dad, and their other sibling who was also in Leyte. And we hear many stories like that. I've personally had friends who lost loved ones, parents, siblings during this period, and all we could really do was text them or convey our sympathies through the phone or through social media. And that's really sad because in our culture, we're a very, very family-oriented people. We always take comfort and we always draw strength from family. I know that for a fact because when my mom passed away 3 years ago, it was really family and friends that helped us deal with the loss. Okay. Very recently, I lost a personal role model, someone that I looked up to. His name was Orly Pena. We called him Chairman Emeritus of the People Management Association of the Philippines. Orly was not only a mentor to me, he was also one of the people that I really admired. When I was starting out my career in the banking industry, he was quite known already as the long-time HR director of PCI Bank, in the 70s and the 80s. And at the time, PCI Bank was the #1 bank in the country. And he introduced a lot of trailblazing programs that became known in the banking industry. He was one of the founding fathers of PMAP, and I think he was the last founding member who eventually became president. Well, I became president of PMAP in 2011, and Orly Pena was one of my most vocal supporters during my presidency. I was asked to deliver a eulogy in an online necrological service, and I'd like to share with you the eulogy that I delivered for Orly Pena in this video.
The next one to give a eulogy is past President Bong Austero.
Let me begin by reading a short poem by Robert Burns entitled Epitaph for a Friend. An honest man, here lies at rest, the friend of man, the friend of truth, the friend of age and guide of youth. Few hearts like his, with virtue warmed, few heads with knowledge, so informed. If there's another world, he lives there now in bliss. But in this world he leaves behind, he made his best. Good morning, fellow PMAPers and the family of Chairman Emeritus Orly Pena. It has been said that history, any history, whether that of a country or any association, is really nothing but a collection of stories about the great men and women who shaped events and made momentous things happen by their courage and their vision and their tenacity and hard work and their character. To a very great extent, the history of PMAP is really the story of men like Orly Pena, whose life we are celebrating today. To say that he was a giant on whose shoulders we all stand upon today is an understatement. He was a giant among all of us who built a solid reputation in the Asian region as a business leader, community leader, development advocate, as a trailblazing people manager. His legacy in the banking industry as HR director of PCI Bank for many, many years continues to be an inspiration for many of us who followed in his footsteps. He was a giant, but he was also the kindest, the gentlest giant. In fact, one of the many great descriptions I have heard made of Orly Pena was that he was a big man who was really a child at heart. We all have our own vignettes about this great man. Today, I am sure, we will hear a lot of stories about how he touched each one of us in many profound ways, and the many, many contributions he made towards making this world a better place for all. I first met Orly in the mid-80s when I was just starting my career as a training assistant. And he was the Orly Pena, president of Asia Business Consultants. I took a training of trainer course under him, and many years later, I was pleasantly surprised that he remembered my name. He said he never forgets people who make an impression on him. This phrase he would repeat to me many times all over throughout our many interactions in the last 3 decades. He was a man with a sharp memory, and he could remember people and events and ideas better than most young people. There are many things that I will miss about Chairman Emeritus Orly. His many passions, the long speeches he loved to make, often extemporaneously, because he just had too many ideas and nuggets of wisdom to share. But he never minded when he would be reminded to cut it short. the way he would tease and be playful even during serious moments. Personally, I would always remember Orly for the many passionate and often contentious exchanges we made, either in writing or in person. He treated me like a son, and he always went out of his way to reach out to me. We often disagreed on many sensitive issues, but our mutual respect for each other never diminished. Because above all, he was a man with a really big heart. He was a man who cared deeply and loved truthfully. And because of that, he made all of us better individuals. So let me end by reciting one of the songs from the musical The King and I, which will always remind me of this great man who all made a difference in our lives and in the world because he cared very deeply. Something wonderful from The King and I. This is a man who thinks with his heart. His heart is not always wise. This is a man who stumbles and falls, but this is a man who tries. This is a man you'll forgive and help protect as long as you live. He will not always say what you would have him say, but now and then he'll do something wonderful. He had 1,000 dreams that won't come true. You know that he believes in them, and that's enough for you. You'll always go along, defend him when he's wrong, and tell him when he's strong. He is wonderful. He'll always need your love. And so he'll get your love, because a man who needs your love can be wonderful. And Chairman Emeritus Orly was a wonderful man. Farewell, Chairman Orly. Good night, my dear friend. Condolences to the family.